Today is the 1st of August, about 2 weeks, 15 days since the 17th of July when she passed away. If you note from the photos and the videos, the grass was at its prime. It was not at its peak, but just as it was sprouting the way she liked it. But by then, she wasn't able to eat, she was in pain, and she was really struggling to breathe, and it was too late. And so it was planted a few days before, and my regret had always been that we didn't plant for her fresh grass. Well, I didn't. I rely on Lee to do it, and I really should have just done it myself. And we have 2 and 3 so that we do it staggered. We grow this one. As this mature, we plant this one, so she always have fresh young sprout to eat from. But my husband Lee does it 2 batches at a time, so they all grew old at the same time, age at the same time, but he spread the seed into two plot like this to give it more room to grow. So technically they're a batch, but split into 2. But anyway, it's always been my regret that I've never done it as I planned. I've never managed to always provide her with a fresh batch of grass. And as part of, I don't want to call it grieving process, because is it a grieving process to ruminate over what I could have done better? Or that's just something else unhealthy, you know? There's so many things I planned for her, knowing she is older, 15, end of this year, so not quite 15, but she is in her 15th year of life, if you want to calculate life according to other traditions, where, you know, technically when you mark your birthday in our modern way, that year have passed. You are celebrating the year that's passed instead of the year that you are in. She's past 14. She's in her 15th year of life. And somehow I grew comfortable that she'll be with us for at least, I don't know why I thought I'll have her for another 5 years. She's so good at hiding pain and illness. She's such good-natured. She's a very nervous cat, very chatty cat that yell at us often. Very demanding, but it's in a cute way, you know. But she's always considered us first. Like when we first adopted her, she knew she wasn't allowed to go across the fence, and she was up at the fence, and as soon as she saw me, she climbed down the fence. She could have just gone over the fence. I would not have been able to catch her, but she knew I didn't like that. And this is very earlier on, and she didn't want to do what she knew she wasn't supposed to. Isn't that fascinating? And that's when I knew I know nothing about cats. And so I guess what haunts me now is wondering whether she desperately wanted to eat grass, but there isn't. Trying very hard not to blame anybody but myself. I mean, I'm the one at home all the time. My husband works really long hours, and so it really should fall on me. And I think I've grown quite reliant on him with battling my own nervousness. For example, going to the vet. If he doesn't feel, if I sense, I should correct myself, if I sense that he wasn't inclined to go to the vet, and then the scenario where I could have gone myself is just not there. And what the illness showed was that I could do it. I had to do it twice a day, every day, for a week. And it was extremely stressful because she was unwell. It was so frequent, and she has started to see me as a source of stress, even though she still trusted me, and that's what broke my heart. She wasn't scared of me, but towards the end, I think usually around the morning time when I usually have to take her to the vet for syringe feeding and hydration, she knew it was that time, and she would try to run away, and that broke my heart. And when we first took her to the vet a week after she had trouble eating, which I should have taken her to the vet without having to rely on somebody else who can drive, because I couldn't drive. Just take a cab, just grab the cat and make it work, putting her in the carrier in a way that I thought I needed help. For a long time, we thought the two of us have to do it together, and it was really hard because we only had to do it once a year. And I'm not sure how often in the 8 years of her life that she had to go to the vet, but she behaved extremely anxiously and meow all the way, in a way that the other cats didn't seem to, maybe only 1 or 2 cats. And so obviously she's very stressed. And when we adopted her, she was described as being very startled, very nervous cat, who doesn't like other cats and doesn't like dogs. And she'd be stuck in there with a dog apparently at one point. And anyway, going back to this grass, I kept thinking when we were told she was dehydrated by then, and by then she was only eating liquid and not solids. And I remember my husband sounding surprised, oh, but she drank a lot, because he was worried the amount of drinking she's done, whether her kidney was failing. We were extra vigilant about her kidneys, because that's how most cats pass on. And we ended up having lymphoma killing her, if this cytology were to be believed, because by then there's no point going for a biopsy. She was definitely suffering. Her chest was full of water, and her pancreas was full of lumps, and definitely abnormal cells in her limbs that's massively enlarged. And it was just and after a week of aggressive supportive care, which I wish we hadn't done. I wish we went straight for the ultrasound. Anyway, this is going to a cat rescue, and you can see it's beginning to, the yellow tip is showing that it's not at its optimum, and I really wanted the cat's there who likes grass, to be able to eat this. And the reason why I talk about dehydration is because apparently eating grass is helping them hydrate, and cats only they get most of their hydration from food, and so if they don't eat, they don't become, they will plummet very quick. Like with humans, it's us to drink. We can survive without food, but we have to drink. With cats, they have to eat, because they rarely drink for some reason, and so the hydration is from the food. If they don't eat, they don't hydrate. And I know that sometimes growing up with dogs eating grass as well, we were told that they eat grass to help digestion, and I believe that's true for cats as well. But the vet said that it's for hydration. At one point, the other vet just shrugged off and say, oh, it's just weird behavior. And I think a lot of vets aren't very informed about cat behaviors. It just the organs and the biology of cats, and I think it's no longer good enough. Like, for example, I knew she was in pain because she was shaking, and when I did tell him, there are 2 vets that we would go to, husband and wife, when we told him, he sort of said, oh, maybe it could be anything, but I knew she was in pain, and I was right. And that's based on my sister's dog, who was shaking when at the end of her life, who also had cancer, liver cancer, and ended up passing away. So anyway, this is going, and I couldn't bear to part with it, but I think it would be selfish of me to just keep it. It's going to be useless. And my husband, Lee, said no, he doesn't want to keep it. When I said just in case, maybe we might, either foster or adopt, and he's like, nah, he's not ready. He's still grieving. I think the idea of another cat, just he couldn't think of preparing for someone else when we're still grieving over this one. This is her terrace. This is where she used to sit. I think I've shown you, and she used to look out that way. And it was really, really nice to know that even though we're in the middle of the city. When she looked up like that, she could look up to a completely blue sky. And when she looked down, there's all these plants. There used to be more plants here. I'm not the gardener in the house, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but I wouldn't have a clue. But there's some old photos with chili plants here, and she could have a little garden without having to worry about other cats. And my worry about her not liking it here because she can't go outside, that was my biggest worry. That she can't go outside. It's completely extinguished because she didn't want to go outside, because she doesn't have to protect her territory without other cats. And it's just amazing how in life you worry about something, and what really and you is completely something else, coming out from a completely different direction. Anyway, going to a cat rescue that is a cat cafe.